Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of The Message. I am your host, Donatus King. We'll spend this next hour with one purpose in mind, and that one purpose is delivering the message that God is Almighty. And, right, let's see if we can pull, all right, all right. Everything that ever was, is now, or ever will be, is a piece of God. Everything that ever was, is now, ever will be, was made by God. Everything that ever happened is happening right now, ever will happen, was made to happen by God. God is the master plan for all time and all creation. God is Almighty. The message is brought to you by, produced by the Society of Knowledge Incorporated. The Society is an interdenominational, religious, spiritual organization. Our members come from various different religious and spiritual backgrounds. We have various different religious and spiritual beliefs. Although we come from different backgrounds and have different beliefs, there's one belief that we share. There's one piece of knowledge that we hold in common. And that's the knowledge that there is a being. By no matter what name we may have been taught to call that being, by no matter what name we may have come to know that being, whether that name be God, Allah, Yahweh, Jesus, Jehovah, Buddha, nature, by no matter what name, we know that there is a being that possesses not some of the power, not most of the power, but all of the power. We know that there is indeed an almighty being. That's the reason we do this show, and the only reason we do this show. And that's to deliver the message that that being that personally I call God, that that being is indeed almighty. Those of you that are watching by Facebook, Sister Killer, Sister Brother Samuel, thank you for joining us on Facebook. Brother Case, thank you for joining us on Facebook. Sister Hannah, thank you for joining us in or on Zoom. Messenger Ryan, thank you for joining us via Zoom also. We have a couple of announcements that we'll read, and then after we finish those announcements, we will pick up our discussion. And as you saw a little bit earlier, our discussion topic tonight, that discussion topic is free will versus predestination. Free will versus predestination. Right? We have all right, we have another joining us by Zoom.
Yes, Mr. King, I did invite a guest with me.
All right, that's a Cameron.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Is it Brother Cameron?
Yes, that.
All right. Thank you, Brother Cameron, for joining us.
Thank you so much. Let me see if I don't have my camera on.
All right.
Here I am.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you
All
so
right,
much. Actually, this isn't a good background. Let's come over here.
All right. What we're gonna do while you get situated, we're gonna go through some announcements. All right. And as we just our acknowledgement, today is June 11th. We'll have our announcements, testimonies. After that, we'll have our religious spiritual study. And as we remind ourselves each week, prove all things, hold fast that which is good. Coming out of First Book of Thessalonians, chapter 5, verse 21. Our discussion topic tonight, free will versus predestination. Free will versus predestination. Our words of inspiration, if we get that far, they'll come out of the book of Exodus, chapter 9, starting verse 20 through 35. You see on our on your web, see on your screen right now, that's our main website. It's www.godisalmighty.org. I invite you to visit that website 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you can learn a little bit more about the Society of Knowledge. Sister Patricia, thank you for joining us on Facebook. And when you go to our main website, there are links to all of our social media outlets. So we have a blog, we have a Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. So you don't have to write all that down. Just go to our main webpage. The message, tonight the message is coming out of New Orleans, Louisiana. but on the first and third Sundays at 9 p.m., the message is delivered by Messenger Ryan King and Messenger Corey Olivier on Facebook Live at The Messenger. And that show is produced by the Lafayette, Louisiana Center of the Society of Knowledge, Inc. Imani Temple number 49, we're waiting. We have Bishop John Milton from Imani Temple number 49 in Lafayette, Louisiana. He's the pastor, 201 East Willow Street. We expect that Bishop Milton will be joining us here on the broadcast. Sister Kim, thank you for joining us. Kim Sense, accountant, knows about what's happening with money. Thank you for joining us, Sister Kim. We're also expecting Sister Renata Collins to join us. And Sister Collins she's the host of Forbidden Conversations, a TV show. And there you see her website. And Imani Temple number 28, we're also waiting for Bishop Wendy Mead to join us. And Imani Temple number 28, located here in the city of New Orleans. There you see their contact information. And Bishop Wendy Mead will be probably joining us on this panel a little bit later on. Bethel Temple of Praise and Delivery, Dr. Vanessa Landry is the pastor here in the city of New Orleans. We think that we're expecting for Dr. Landry to join us. As I said, prove all things, hold fast that which is good. Coming out of Facebook, Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21. You may have seen posts on my Facebook page that the Society of Knowledge is a safe place. You're not going to be judged by your expressing your opinions. You're not going to be criticized. It's a safe space. One of the things that we do remind ourselves each week is that prove all things, hold fast that which is good. Just because you hear somebody say something on this show, whether it's me, one of our panel members, one of our viewers, don't take that as gospel. Okay? Don't take that to be the absolute truth. I'm going to make sure that I do everything that I can to speak nothing but the truth on this program, but prove it for yourself. Okay? Prove it for yourself. And once you test it, once you do your own research and you find that it's good, then hold on to it. If you find out it's bad, let it go. Even if it's something that I said, let it go. Matter of fact, if it's something that I say, please let me know during this broadcast so that I can correct my mistake. All right, tonight's discussion, free will versus predestination. Free will versus predestination. And we have, all right, Bishop Milton, thank you for joining us. I said perfect timing. Sister Lala, thank you for joining us on Facebook. And we're going to open up. We're going to ask everybody to unmute. And because I'm going to go just the way that my screen is set up, the way everyone's situated on my screen, we're going to start with Bishop Milton, then Sister Hannah, then Brother Cameron, and then Messenger King in that order. And I'm going to ask, because I think we have going to have a lively conversation tonight. So I'll ask everyone for your opening comments, just to limit your comments to 2 minutes. I know that's tough to do, but if you'll do that for 2 minutes and give everybody a chance to express themselves. And tonight's topic, again, free will versus predestination. Bishop Milton.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Messenger, and good evening to everybody. With regards to free will, we know that, and we've been told that God created mankind in his image and in his likeness. If we're made like God, God has will, and so does mankind, but by God's divine plan does man have free will. And in fact, when we look at the annals of biblical and scriptural history, we see that evil in the world came about as a result of the exercise of man's free will in the disobedience of God. So when people say, "Why, Lord?" oftentimes, and I'm just leaving a house right now. That's why I was a little late. I apologize, but one of my church members' younger son was ran off the road while he drove a motorcycle last night. And an 18-wheeler forced him off the road and he killed himself. And so I'm leaving my church member's house, and she asked the question, "Why, Lord?"
Hmm.
And it's because of free will. You know, it's not the Lord that killed him, but it is the drunken driving, the decision of the individual human being that has intervened. Even when it comes to Jesus Christ, we say that God sent Jesus here to save the world. I don't believe that God sent Jesus here to kill him and to put him on a cross, because human beings had the ability to listen to what Jesus said and accept that truth. But instead, even though God had God's way in the end, with the glorification of Jesus the Christ, but we see that free will, if mankind does not accept responsibility for mankind, then we can't make the modifications and be the aids, the temples of God that can aid God's will here on earth.
All right, thank you, Bishop. And as I mentioned earlier, at this show, the Society of Knowledge is a safe place. Express your knowledge, express your opinions without being criticized and chastised. So, as I say, it's a safe space. And I want to thank Sister Cherie for joining us on Facebook. Sister Renata, I see you're on Facebook. Hopefully you received the invitation, the link, so that you can join us on Zoom. The same thing, Sister Cherie, if you look on my Facebook page, you'll see an invitation earlier with the link, and you can join us on Zoom. All right, I think we had an order. I think up next was Sister Hannah.
Yes. So thank you so much, Mr. King, for this opportunity. And good evening to everyone on this panel tonight. And so, as far as free will, I believe that God gives us all choices. And free will is such a gift from God. It is basically what I know it to be is the power to make decisions of our own, rather than having God or fate basically predetermine what we do. And so basically what I mean by that is we should all have, many people believe in having like common sense. And over the past time, I've learned that common sense is not so common. And with free will, God gives us, he gives us choices to make. He gives us choices to make. And he's able to tell us like, all right, this option is, option A is, here's the choice with that, or option B, here's the choice with that. He gives us choices to make and to be good thinkers, not only great, Bible readers or, whatever our field of study may be. He gives us a choice so we are able to move forward, but also take his knowledge as he guides us, and he begins to, help us make those decisions wisely and not just going off of, all willy-nilly off of just what we may, think. He's able to, let us balance those choices and see what's best for us as well. And he's letting us be adults, and he's watching us, he's watching us succeed, and he's watching us take those, those failures if we may, have a situation as well in life. So that's what I believe free will to be.
All right, thank you, Sister Hannah. And I want to see that Brother Jeff is watching us on Facebook. And Brother Jeff, that I said earlier, if you could just hit that link, go to the early invitation, hit that link, and you can join us on Zoom. So we have Brother Cameron. I think you were next up. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. King. First of all, thank you for such an opportunity. Thank you to each and every one of you that are on the panel. Certainly thank you to my friend Hannah for inviting me to such a forum. I guess to start off with, I think that free will is close to what Hannah said. I agree that it's our chance to make a choice, but I think that God left us free will in a tactical way to kind of see how much we trust him. Because, if we read in his word all the time, he says, if in all our ways we acknowledge him, that he would direct our path. And so in a sense, that is to just acknowledge God, and then he would tell us what to do because he would direct our path. Then again, he says that the word is a lamp unto our feet and a light into our path. And so if we don't have God's word, I feel like we would then be in the dark. And how can we make a lot of decisions in the dark, even though we have free will? So I truly believe that it's free will, but it's a tactical plan from God to try to kind of sift out those who will trust him and who won't. Because you have the decision to trust me, but you don't necessarily have to, because you can try to do this thing of life on your own if you would like to, which is why he gives you the chance to have free will. But in the event that you want to live a successful life, an abundant life, if you want the life that God promised you, it's really a life of free will in his will, though. And so it's not just free will all willy-nilly. It's free will for an abundant life, at least. It's free will aligned with his will. And so I think that it is our choice, but it behooves us to still stay in the will of God, if that makes sense. To have our free will within the will of God. I think that's where free will would be most freely accepted, at least.
All right, thank you, Brother Cameron. We have Messenger Ryan, and I'm gonna, with 2 minutes, Messenger Ryan. I'm looking at my watch now. I'm looking at the time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good sunrise, rather, to everybody on the panel. Thank you for having me. It's certainly a pleasure and honor to be here with you.
Sister Renata, thank you for joining us. I'm sorry, Ryan. Thank you for joining us on Facebook.
It's all right.
Thank you.
It's great to have more voices. It's always great. But with regards to free will, I don't disagree with anybody on the panel here tonight. I just like to try to put it in the context or what have you. When we talk about, does God give you free will? You have to first define what God is, and in this context, and relative to the message that God is Almighty. In this context, God would be referred most closely with, or aligned most closely with, an organization, if you will, or in the Greek terminology, they say a mighty man. And so now if you're asking about free will in this context, and you distinguish a mighty man from God is Almighty, then you have a situation where, as with respect to that mighty man, you do have a choice. But with respect to God is Almighty, there is no choice. There is no free will. How could there be free will against something that's omnipotent or omniscient? As far as with respect to see what you're gonna do, I already know what you're gonna do because I'm omniscient. I know already. So that's, like I said, that's just my perspective, putting it in the context of that distinction between that which is all things. When I say God is Almighty, what I mean by God is that which is all things, and making a distinction between that and God as in a mighty man or an organization.
Right.
And that's a good opening.
All right. Sister Renata.
Yes.
Free will.
Whew. Such an amazing gift to have. It's the liberty of being able to make a choice at one's own discretion. Many times it is so awesome because it goes like this. I can ask God to order my steps and yet still choose to make my own decision. That's free will. Even so much so, we're going to talk about free will. When God had Adam and Eve, God only presented Eve to Adam, and Adam had the free will to choose to take her on as flesh of his flesh, bones of his bones, and then they became one. So free will is, again, having ability to view things more than one way and making one's own choice and decision on any situation without being scrutinized or looked down upon or a judge because of one's own action. That's when it's free will. And we have to be, it's a great thing when you can operate and live and communicate your own free will and others' free will. But free will is a powerful thing that many times people don't necessarily operate in, because we give up our will to other people. Some people give their will up to drugs. Some of them give it up to alcohol. Some of them give it up to their loved ones. Some of them give it up to their parents. Some people give it up to an image. But free will is so awesome that any moment you want it back, you can have it back without being punished or judged or criticized. It's amazing. It's liberating. It's an awesome opportunity that we all are born into, but many choose not to operate in, from my own perspective.
I have a comment.
Yes.
I think I love what Sister, I believe, Renata said. I totally agree, but I also think that there are, in a way, I think there are consequences. Does anyone else think there are consequences to having your own free will? And by that saying, sometimes my free will is something I know is, not always pleasing because I'm young and I want to have fun still. And I still want to, there's still certain things I want to do. And I just want to know, does God punish because of my own free will? Are there consequences to that? So it's just an open-ended question to anybody. I'm just curious.
All right. Before we
can I respond on that?
No. Hold. Say, stick a pin in it. Hold on to that right there, because I'm gonna throw a little funk in the game right now. And the funk I'm gonna throw in the game right now, Bishop, as you know, I'm gonna throw something in there, and free will versus predestination, and let's see if I can come into. Let's see if I can come back. All right. What I'm going to do is throw something out in some scriptures. Okay. So we've been talking a little bit here. So let's throw a few scriptures in here and see what those scriptures are talking about. And since I've Bishop, you know that I'm going to throw something in here as far as maybe with that predestination piece, so that we can, open up this discussion. Okay, so we can open it up. All right. Let's go to Romans 8:28-30. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of the Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called. And whom he called, them he also justified. And whom he justified, them he also glorified. Now, I'm going to take this off. And there's a couple of scriptures that I did not put on the board, but I'm just going to read those, and it's coming out of Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8-10. And that is, for by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus unto good works, which God hath before ordained that we should walk in them. Now, I'm not going to read some scriptures, but I'm going to give you some scriptures. And since you'll be able to later on go back to this tape and look at it, it's coming out of Matthew chapter 26, verses 33-46, then Mark chapter 9, verse 31, and Mark chapter 14, verse 21, and Luke chapter 22, verse 37. So in Matthew 26, 33-46, that deals with Peter, okay? The apostle Peter. And Jesus predicted that before the cock crowed, Peter would deny knowing Jesus 3 times, would deny knowing him. So this was predicted. Jesus predicted that. Now it raises the question, when Peter was asked, did he know Jesus? Did he really have free will to say, yes, I know him? Or was he predestined, as predicted by Jesus, was he predestined to deny knowing him? Mark, the death and resurrection, Jesus predicts his death. A statement was made earlier that it was evil folks that killed him, but this was predicted. Christ is the scripture says that Christ was born to die, that everything that he went through, that was all part of God's plan. And so now again, that free will versus predestination. Mark, the death and resurrection predicted. Some real striking verses coming out of Mark chapter 14, and that's Judas. When Judas betrayed Jesus, and Jesus' statement was that this had to happen. Okay, he's doing what he was created to do. So it raises the question, was Judas predestined to betray Jesus Christ? Was that indeed part of God's plan? And then in Luke chapter 22, verse 37, that is written, and this is Jesus' words, that is written must yet be accomplished. So reconciling free will with prophecy, where we read throughout the Bible that things have been prophesied, reconciling free will, that people have the opportunity to make decisions, reconciling that with the idea that there is an almighty omniscient being. Okay? And that's what our discussion is about tonight. Brother Jeff, thank you for joining us. And I'm sorry I interrupted Sister Hannah and Sister Renata, that you all were in the discussion, but I just wanted to throw that out. Look, Bishop, it's good when I get a chance ahead of time to go ahead and type some stuff up and put on the screen. I know y'all gonna start doing that in the future, typing stuff up, but I'm here to y'all on this one. All right, Sister Renata and Sister Hannah.
All right, thank you so much. Those scriptures was so great. I like them for 2 reasons. As a manifestation queen, right? I manifest a lot of things. When we live on default, right? Which means that if you're not in control of yourself, anything can and will operate for you, because then you're just accepting, you're not standing for anything. You can fall for whatever, right? So, but I want to answer Hannah's question. So when I think about free will and you asked about punishment, just because you have free will, it does not stop you, or it does not protect you from consequences. And what do I mean by that? If you touch fire, you get burned, but you have the free will to do so. You know what I mean? And it's not God's punishment. It's it's a cause and effect situation. If you get in the water and you don't hold your breath, you're gonna drown, right? But you have the free will to do so. So you have the will to do it, and nothing is punishment, is cause and effect. I don't even believe in good and bad. I believe in desirable and undesirable. And from that perspective, it allows me to take off the lens that society has taught us to operate in, and to be more realistic in understanding that God is a God of free will, right?
All right.
But there are cause and effects.
All right, we have Sister Renata. I should have did this earlier. I should have done this earlier. Sister Renata joining us from New Orleans. Sister Hannah joining us from Chicago, correct? All right. Brother Cameron joining us, I'm assuming from Chicago, or am I incorrect on that?
From Chicago, yep.
All right. We have Brother Jeff that has just joined us. Jeff, we're going to let you jump in a minute, but we have Bishop Milton joining us out of Lafayette, and Messenger Ryan joining us out of Lafayette. So we're going to just skip out of order a little bit. Brother Jeff, you're in Dallas, correct?
Yeah, McKinney to be exact.
McKinney. All right, McKinney, Texas. All right. So topic tonight: free will or predestination
I'm
or
doing
some
it.
combination.
I'm doing it.
Brother Jeff.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. You have an opinion on that?
As far as free will, I agree with the lady. I forget her name. And I'm kind of new to the Zoom thing. You know, I'm kind of new to all it, but I definitely agree with free will. As far as it's almost like God's gift to us, saying, hey, we have the choice to love him or not, you know, and because we're not made as robots. So he made us all individuals. So we do walk our own path, so to speak. And again, she was right. We do have consequence to everything. And as far as the desirable and the undesirable, to me, that portion is we have to look at God's way of things, meaning is it desirable for God, the will that the path that we chose, or is it undesirable to him? Because all things were made, you know, by him and through him. So, you know, it's just a matter of how we utilize things in our life, and is it a part of our life path, you know?
All right, Brother Jeff. Thank you. And Sister Candace, thank you for joining us on Facebook. Sister Killer, join us on, you know, I know that you like the way you look, so go ahead and join us on Zoom. And I know there's a gentleman that's been trying to hold his tongue. So Bishop Milton.
Yes, sir.
All right.
The lunatic who is not legally responsible for his action is distinguishable from he who is in his right mind, who chooses to do the wrong thing. We would have no need for the notions of good and evil if mankind had no power to make decisions and to have free will. The whole basis of our religious doctrines, the whole basis of our societal structures suggests that we make choices as human beings every single day. Now, the fact that God knows, because every Christian I know still believes that God is omniscient, God is all-knowing. That does not contradict the fact that God is all-knowing, the fact that man still has free will. It's just that when you talk about Ephesians chapter 2, I think the word in the version that you read, Messenger, it says that we are God's workmanship. In other Bibles, it reads, "We are God's masterpiece. We are a piece of the master." And so, for God to create us, create mankind, though we are subjected to the will of God, as Christians, we all believe that God is all powerful. God is all powerful, and even so, therefore, even with mankind's free will, because we are a piece of the master, my actions are God's actions. And so the whole notion of why we have laws, we have biblical laws, Mosaic laws. Well, if there was totally and unequivocally only predestination as juxtapositioned against free will, then we wouldn't need any laws, because everything that we did was because God made us do it. And Flip Wilson would say, the devil made me do it.
All right, Bishop. Sister Carolyn, thank you for joining us on Facebook. And let's do a little something here. We have maybe about 25 minutes left in the program. So what I would like to do, and this is the way the Spirit is moving me right now, let's open it up. I'm gonna unmute everybody, and you know, we'll get this discussion. Thank you, everybody. Unmute. All right. And I really do want to, you know, this is, you know, Bishop, it's something to get to the point, Bishop, when you start realizing that you have less years ahead of you than you've been here. And it's a blessing to realize that you don't know everything, and that some folks that might not have been on this earth as long as you, that they know as much as you and maybe even more. And it's a blessing to get to the point, and I'm saying it's a blessing because I've gotten to that point, to start inviting and making that opportunity for those that are emerging, to let them emerge. So I'm gonna take and encourage some of the younger folks that are here on the panel, and there might be one or two that are younger than me, Bishop, on the panel right now. And I'm gonna encourage them. Just look. We talk about, we have these discussions, and we'll quote the Bible, we'll refer to the Bible. What is God telling you? What the Spirit is telling you? Okay, let's start out with Brother Cameron. This is your new, so have at it. And then look, I said a minute, 2 minutes, but in this segment now, all of us, I think, are courteous enough. If you're making a point and you have something that you want to interject, I think you can go ahead and do that. Brother Cameron.
Again, thank you so much for having me. I want to kind of go back to that Romans 8:28, that for we know that all things work together for the good of them who love the Lord, for those who are called according to his purpose. I think there is, and it's funny that you would kind of put these two together. I really never thought of your free will and then predestination, because again, like it says, all things work together for them who love the Lord. So that means if you love the Lord, then you're an eligible candidate for everything to work together. But I think that free will comes into play. The predestination is that everything is going to work together for your good. The free will comes into play is that the same thing that works together for you may not work together for me, because I didn't make the same decisions that you made. And so the only thing that's predestined to happen is that I come out on the winning side. You come out on the winning side. We're going to overcome whatever comes against us, because we're always going to win. But, I may overcome a sickness and something else, and there may be someone else who overcomes a house fire, or who overcomes a car accident, or something else, all because of their many different decisions that they made in their free will, in their time of free will. And so we have the predestined promise that everything is going to work together, but our free will orchestrates a unique situation as to what will work together for our good. And so I think that in everything, it is a choice. But we must, it says, work together for those who love the Lord. And so those who love the Lord love the Lord's will. They love the Lord's word. You cannot, you know the Lord just as much as you know his word. And so those are the ones who are going to make decisions that align with the word of God. Those are the ones who are going to make decisions that align in the Christian faith. It said, and so, it almost raises the question for me as a young believer to say, well, those who don't love the Lord, does that mean things do not work together for their good? Because, it's in black and white that it says all things work together for those who love the Lord. So those who don't love the Lord are making decisions that are not in the will of God, that are not in the way of God, not in the word of God. And so where does that kind of leave them is a question that unfortunately I really don't have an answer to, but I think that as Christian faith believers.
All right, Renata, then Ryan.
Okay. So I love the perspective, and I could definitely hear the uncertainty of, the information from the perspective of, is it just for one set of people? I'm gonna bring you to the beginning of the Bible when he said, let me make, and it was good. But everything that God made is good, right? And I love how he said, everything is predestined to work out for our good. There is nothing that, and then also in the Bible, it says there's nothing you can do that can separate you from the love of God.
Mm-hmm.
When you put all of those things together, so that means even though I may operate in the way, and another person may operate in a different way. At the end of the day, like you said, everything is predestined to work out for each other's good. Now, one person may identify it and not think that it's good, but again, that's all up to the person's perspective. And one of my favorite things I like to say is, a person's perspective of me is none of my business. So, you know, that being said, I have to know that it's working out for my good, and we have to know that if we all know that it's predestined to work out for our good, no matter what another person believe or think about it, it's okay. Understanding cause and effect still.
Right.
And I think that and I would like to say this, I think when we understand the 7 universal laws too, even though there's more, I think when we understand the universal laws, I think it will help us put certain things into perspective and to respect each person. Like a star, like a sun and the moon, they all have their place and they all respect one another and do their own thing, and it all works out for each other's good.
Right, Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, thank you. That's great conversation. That's a good point that you had left off on Brother Cameron, as far as with that question, or as far as with the statement that all things work for the good of those who love the Lord. You know, that just brings me to my earlier statement with regards to making that distinction, putting things in the context. You know, when you're speaking about God, you have to define that, right? You know, so if you're speaking on that which is all things, then like Sister Renata was saying, you look to chapter 1, Genesis. You know, all things was made and all things was good. You know, but then you jump once you have that, so that's everything, right? Then you jump to chapter 2 of Genesis, where it says the Lord God established this system, this organization, or what have you, this environment, and that's within that which is all things, or what have you. So you establish this environment and then establish rules. And that's when you get this idea, this concept of a negative, right? So it was don't do, right? So the persons were first formed, right? And the breath of that God, or that Lord God, as it was called, went into those persons. So they had that Lord God's spirit. And so it would be beholden. So if you speak in the context of all things good, work for the good of those who love the Lord, right? If you stay within the bounds of that, if you don't eat from the tree, you stay within the trust, and now you can continue to benefit off of whatever that garden is producing. You know, so you have, you know, with that distinction, you know, between that which is all things and some quote unquote lesser God, or some instrumentality of God, which is what a Lord God would be, an instrumentality, as is all other things. You know, you start to see where this concept of free will and predestination come into play. You know, because free will itself, you don't have free will in terms of that which is all things, but you do have free will or a choice in terms of the associations that you make, right? Between you and some other instrumentality. But then at the end of the day, it's still predestined, because whatever relationships you get involved into, you was gonna do it anyways, because it's the will of that which is all things, which is supposed to play out.
All right, look, that's great the way you led into that, and I'm saying the way you led into that, because a couple of comments that I wanted to make. And Bishop, I'm looking now, it's about 8 o'clock on the Thursday evening, and you know, you have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, television, all different kind of things. And we see that those of us that have been called and chosen to participate in this discussion, this conversation, those of us that are here on this panel, those that are watching by Facebook, and for those of you that are watching by Facebook through the Messenger Facebook page, I apologize for not acknowledging you, but I can't see it because I'm logged in through my own page. So those of you that are watching through the Messenger, please know that I thank you for watching on Facebook through the Messenger's page. But those of you that are watching, those of you that are on this panel, even though, and I'm throwing this out, this is my opinion. My opinion is that whether we have free will or not, through some way, we are here together tonight. And my opinion, and that's my opinion is that whether you call it free will or whatever you call it, a decision was made that we be here together having this discussion tonight. And I am elated that that decision was made to include me in this discussion. So we're going to go to the bishop, and then wait a minute, Bishop, before we go to you, Sister Hannah.
So I am in total agreement with Cam and Sister Renata and Brother King, I believe. And I also would like to bring up the scripture, Jeremiah 1:5, and he says, before you even born, he knew you. And to me, that's so powerful. That's so powerful to me, because before I was even thought about, God knew my very thoughts, what I would look like. He had all the details. And it's so amazing to me that he even knew the choices that I would make, the bumps in the road that would come. And that is reassuring to me. That is reassuring to me that while I'm still trying to figure it out, he already knows, and he already plans it out. And so along with free will, there's a quote that I like, and it says, when God predetermined our destiny, he factored in our stupidity. And so that is that quote, it speaks to me personally. That's a quote for me, for Hannah. And that means even the bad decisions that I make, even the decisions that I didn't even think through all the way, the places I wasn't supposed to go, all the little nicks and knacks, he already factored in that I was going to have a destiny in the end. So I thought that was just such a safe quote for me. It was so powerful to know that he's already factored in when I'm not thinking straight, when my head is all over the place. So he's already factored in my own personal stupidity. So I love that quote. And so I'm going to turn it over.
Bishop.
Yes, sir.
And Bishop, before you start, my condolences to your church members' family that had that loss, and I know that you were placed there to work them through this period, but know that we are keeping the family in prayer. And Bishop.
Thank you, sir. And I'm still sitting outside of her apartment complex here. You know that for us to reward good and for us to punish evil gives the implication that mankind has something to do with it. And I believe that a great book to refer to is a book entitled Why Lord by, I think his name is William Penn. It's a book that answers the question of why. Why is there evil in the world? And the author ends up with the proposition that it is humanism. That is, the free will of man has led to evil in the world. And if we look at a full, complete picture of what our faith is and our doctrinal positions on things, we'll see that most religions in this world, and all of those behind this circle behind you, Messenger King, all of those religions have some notion that mankind's decisions intervene in the process of this world. And I believe that does not contradict the notion that God has predestined the world. Man does not think as God does. And because we don't, we call God he.
All right.
No pun.
Because we don't, we call God he. All right. All right.
I like that.
Bishop, next week, the discussion topic next week is good versus evil. Or
Oh.
not good versus, but good and evil, not versus evil,
Mm.
but and evil.
That's
Good
interesting.
and evil. And the way that discussion,
Okay.
that topic has come up and it's weaved its way through our discussion tonight. So good and evil, and you hit on something just now, Bishop, and that's as far as our concepts of good and evil, and something I just wanted to throw out there, and that's relating to Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ, when we read in the Bible, when we read about what Jesus went through, how his family turned on him, how his closest friends turned on him, how the people that he healed turned on him, how the whole city turned on him, how it was spat on, beat, brutalized, crucified, treated so badly that with his last breath, he cried out and asked why God had forsaken him. As terrible as that was, and if I had to classify anything as being evil, as terrible as that was, because I have the knowledge of what came after it, because I have the knowledge of the rest of the story, as terrible as that was, as evil as that was, I can understand when God says that that was all a part of his plan, that Jesus will go through that. So that segues into good and evil. As you all know, I like to use the last minute or so of the show to close out. So we have about 22 minutes after now, and that'll give each of us a minute, if you can, a minute to make some closing remarks. And let's start out with, again, Brother Jeff.
Yeah. I'm still like a baby. Appreciating all the knowledge that I'm gaining tonight, and I'll go deep into the study. So next week I will be ready for questions and even some comments. So yes, I just appreciate everyone for allowing me to come into the Zoom and passing my opinion.
All right, Sister Carnita, thank you for joining us on Facebook. All right, Bishop. All right, you need to turn your mic on, Bishop.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to say that I choose to love all of you, and it is my free will.
All right. Whoa, I lost you, Bishop.
Okay. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Repeat that part about you love all of us. Repeat that part.
I say I choose to love all of you.
All right.
It is my free will, and I'm making the decision. And I'm responsible for it,
right.
and I'm and I approve this message.
All right, Bishop. Thank you, Bishop. Sister Hannah. Sister Hannah, unmute your mic.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm sorry. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody that's on tonight. It was so great talking with you all. Thank you, Mr. King. Thank you, Cameron. Last minute, I just told him, let's do this. And so I thank you for this opportunity.
All right. Thank you, Sister Hannah. Sister Renata.
All right. Thank you so much for having me here. I do want to say something to respond off of the bishop right quick. When God is so powerful, and he didn't send Jesus back because we were sinners. He sent them back because our minds were so confused by those who were in power. They confused our thoughts and took away our free will. In the back of that scripture is Romans 8:3. He say, therefore, there is no condemnation because you walk not after the flesh, but after the spirit. He say he sent his son. What is so important, he say, in the likeness. And people have to understand likeness mean the same, not the opposite. He said, he sent his son in the likeness of sinful flesh. So Jesus didn't come here and walk a perfect life. He did anything that was like sin. And so much so, the last one is Romans 9:14. He said, look, I'm talking to you lawmakers. How is it that she's committing adultery as long as her husband is still alive, but the moment he dies, she's no longer committing adultery? He said, isn't the death of Jesus way much more valuable than that of man? But yet we hold people as sinners every day when Jesus came and died, the ultimate debt for all of us. So again, thank you for your time. I definitely do appreciate it. And to one more thing to respond off the bishop is when I reference to God, my God is a she because I am made in the likeness of God.
All right. All right. Yeah, all right. Brother Ryan, Messenger Ryan.
Yeah. Excuse me. All right, again, thank you for having me this evening, participating in this conversation. And it's interesting, the next broadcast will be with regards to good and evil. That's the that's pretty much the context of what the next broadcast coming out of Lafayette for the watering hole is going to be about on the 21st. You know, so it's interesting how the energy, the frequency of the spirit is moving. But with respect to, again, closing out on this free will and predetermination, it's all a matter of perspective at the end of the day. That which is all things is omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, which means that it is all things at all times. Therefore, if you speaking of free will, there's only one will, that will, which is the will of that which is all things. Right. So we and in that vein, we are merely instrumentalities, acting on behalf of that which is all things. And not necessarily, and not just acting on behalf of, but acting on behalf of ourselves, because again, that which is all things is all things at all times. So that's just my spill on that. Free will, predestination.
All right. Brother Cameron, again, thank you for joining us tonight. First time out, but you got the floor.
Thank you again, of course, for having me. And thank you to Hannah, who she did kind of throw me in at the last minute. And I was like, I think I can talk about that. So we'll be fine. And I think we had effective conversation. So I'm thankful for effective conversation as well, intellectual conversation. And I think, my last comment would simply be, we all have our free will, but I think that our free will should be, as believers, our free will is housed inside the will of God. So when we do make our own decisions and we do take the time to choose what to do, when to do it, how to do it, I think that we should also always be conscious that the fact that whatever we choose to do as believers should always align. Our will should align with his will. And if that be the case, then of course Romans 8:28 will become a truthful scripture, as it will be anyway, that all things will work together for the good of us who love the Lord, because we who love the Lord love his will and we love his word. And so therefore we make decisions that are aligned with his will and his word.
All right, Brother Cameron. Now, Cameron, let me share something with you now. You was doing real good until you start talking about his. See, Sister Renan already told you it's she and her. Now, you were doing good now. All right. But look, you got to blame Bishop for that because he's going to kick that off. All right.
In that case, the will of God.
All right. All right. Look, I thank everyone. And if you haven't been able to tell, I enjoy this. We've been doing this. I've been doing this for over 40 years, and that's delivering the message that God is Almighty. And this show, we've been on television for maybe about 15 to 20 years. We were here, we were here before Katrina, and so I enjoy it. And what makes me, again, it makes me feel good. It encourages me to see that there are others, and that's what we're doing right now, Bishop. That's how the society started. The society started by a group of friends, a group of people getting together and just talking about spiritual and religious matters. You know, and we would take, and one person would have a comment, another would have a comment, and we grew from that. And even though we had different comments, at the end of the day, you know, we realized that there was one belief that we shared, and that was the belief that there was an almighty being. Okay? There was an almighty being. And that's the message that we deliver, that God is almighty. I thank everybody for participating in this panel. And I'm going to ask, if you will, this thing will be on Facebook, and it's recorded. I ask you to send that out, you know, to all your friends. And next week, you know, come on, join the panel and start a watch party. You know, before you come on Zoom, start that watch party, share it with your friends. And we want to get a diversity of opinions, of perspectives. And, you know, we usually do have a lot of Christians' perspectives. But again, we know that God encompasses all races, all religions. So, you know, reaching out across the whole spectrum. And even those that don't have a religion, hey, reaching out to them also. So as I close, one of the things that I always close with is that whether there is free will or whether there's predestination, whatever situation your free will leads you in this upcoming week, whatever situation predestination leads you in this upcoming week, I'm hoping that God Almighty blesses you in knowing that no matter whatever it is, that God is indeed Almighty. And I hope that that knowledge brings you peace. Thank everyone for participating tonight. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Peace.